The intro.
All right, welcome to the adventures of MattMan and Romo. I'm Matt, and I'm here with my buddy Ron.
Hello.
We're gonna talk about some DC stuff today. Big news recently. That was a big blow to my childhood, in particular, with the passing
Probably
of
a
Kevin.
lot of people's,
Yeah, definitely. The passing of Kevin Conroy, and I'm just gonna say, like, there's not a lot of celebrity deaths that really get to me.
Yeah.
I it's not that it's not sad. Of course, my heart goes out to them and their families. But when the Queen died, everyone was posting tributes and stuff. I'll be honest, I wasn't that invested in the Queen's life before she passed.
I can't understand any of that, to be honest.
Right.
I'll flat out say I don't get it.
So if I have an appreciation for someone, though, I'll share it. And Kevin Conroy, to me, was and is Batman. Like, in my mind, when I read comics, his voice is the one I hear.
Oh, that's the voice. Yeah, that's the
the
voice. And it's weird. I think a lot of the 90s cartoons, for me, Conroy's Batman, and anyone from the 90s X-Men cartoon, those voices, when I read X-Men now, those are still the voices that I use in my head.
Yeah, I would agree. The Wolverine voice.
The Wolverine, yes. That's
perfect.
It. That's it. I mean, all of them. But, I mean, Conroy, it's no matter what live action person played Batman, and Michael Keaton being my favorite, I'm not using Michael Keaton's voice in my head. I'm using Kevin's voice in my head.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a weird thing.
And to me, the best, don't get me wrong, I have an appreciation for, the Keaton films and even the Nolan films, despite my issues with them. I can still watch them and be fairly entertained, even though I'll start picking them apart.
Yeah.
But we've already done a whole episode on that.
Yeah.
But I really think the best Batman narratives have been, outside of comic books, that is, like the Arkham games where Conroy was doing the voices. Like the first three, I'd say I didn't really care for Knight as much. I think they kind of butchered some stuff, but
Arkham Knight film. I didn't like Arkham Knight. I was disappointed. I was disappointed. I think for the exact same reasons like everyone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
tank the game. They took a really cool concept of hey, let's put this open world and have a Batmobile, and then
one of those things you've been waiting for the entire Arkham series. You wanted the Batmobile, you wanted the open world where you could drive the Batmobile, and then it's like every time you were in the Batmobile, it almost took away from the gameplay because you just had to solve puzzles with the Batmobile, and it's no, that's not really what we were going for.
We wanted, the ability to do what they did in, what was it, Batman? No, the rooftop scene was in Dark Knight, right?
Dark Knight, yeah.
So, we wanted to do cool stuff like that.
There were some cool things, but it got annoying. It really did get annoying. You just want, and then for replay value, it really takes away.
Right.
It really takes away because you just want to get past these few scenes that take 20 minutes.
Sure.
It's annoying.
Sure. And beyond, getting off track like we always do.
I can't imagine.
But I know, right? It's shocking that we would get off on a tangent like that. But really I love specifically the first, three
Arkham Asylum was your favorite. The first one,
The first one's my favorite. The first one's your favorite.
Far. Yeah.
I know most people consider Arkham City to be the best. I liked it a lot.
I love Arkham Origins.
I did too.
Know I'm one of the few, maybe we're one of the few. I mean, literally, I love that game. I know it had glitches.
Yes.
But I'm not a spoiled man baby. I'm sorry. I grew up with Atari, for God's sake. So give me an amazing game with two glitches, and I'm still in heaven.
When I was growing up, games were typically so short that glitches were awesome.
Right.
Trying. We used to. I mean, does anyone remember the Midas World in Super Mario Bros? We used to try and get glitches.
I remember blowing in the disc for Nintendo cartridges to try to get them in the. What we used to have to do.
Yes.
And now it had a glitch. Oh my God. Take the bottle out of your mouth.
Yeah.
My God.
It was a very glitchy game. I think they patched a lot of it.
There's two of them, really.
Right.
Two of them that you would notice.
In fairness, a lot of the glitching from what I saw in it was mostly on, if I remember correctly, the Steam version, which
Okay.
I'm a console gamer at heart.
Okay.
I do play Steam, guys, before the master race comes, beating at my door. Okay. Before you PC guys, I do play PC games, but at heart, I'm a console guy.
Yeah.
And it didn't have nearly the number of issues that they did.
I only play console, so I wouldn't know.
Right.
I really wouldn't know.
Right. So,
but okay, I tell you what.
I really love that story.
Let's circle back.
Yes,
let's circle back
around.
Let's circle back.
Conroy.
Okay, would those games have been? I mean, would the games have been as good if Conroy at least didn't do the first two? You know what I mean? Because I think they still would have been amazing. But there's something joyous about hearing Kevin Conroy's voice on new projects. Right? Like new projects, a new DC animated film, and it's Kevin again.
Yeah.
Like there's something, and it just slams us men back into our teenage years. And it's like, the cartoon.
I'm not sure.
It's so nice.
It's funny. I'm not sure that I'm attached to another vocal. Now, I got to be careful while saying this because there's a few. Those of you who
Mark Hamill is the Joker.
Mark Hamill's as the Joker.
Yeah, see, that's my wife is the same way. Brittany's the same way.
But there's very few other voices that are untouchable to me.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say, and I know this is totally out of left field, but Lorenzo Music as Garfield was iconic.
Yeah,
to me.
No, you're right.
Like there has never been another guy to do Garfield's voice. Like he is Garfield.
Isn't he the one that did Peter Venkman as the in the Ghostbusters cartoons in the 90s?
I think that's right.
It's the same. It's the same guy, right? He did a lot of them in the 90s.
Yes.
And me, I mean, I was a huge Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Right.
I freaking loved them, and the movies, of course. I was at the prime age for that. But you're right. Like that voice was in a lot of things in the 90s cartoons.
Yeah. And I like I said, to me,
I never even knew his name, to be honest.
I'm a Garfield fan.
Yeah.
I love, and I'm not just like the modern internet that loves the Garfield without Garfield comic strips.
Yeah.
I love Garfield. Like it's a guilty pleasure of mine. You can judge away. I don't care.
Yeah. We've all got them.
Garfield Christmas special is still an annual watch in my
really?
house. Absolutely.
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
So, but anyway, but yeah, other than that, like when you're talking about like untouchable voices that I will notice almost immediately if they're not there is Kevin Conroy as Batman. Like, I just don't know that anyone else has captured, I would say both Bruce and Batman the way he did.
And see, that's the trouble. You've got to do two different voices and they have to be distinct. And he did.
Yes.
He did. Just like, I mean, in my opinion, just like Keaton did.
Yeah.
Keaton, you could barely tell Michael Keaton was Batman when he was wearing the mask. All you could see was his lips, and you really couldn't tell. Val Kilmer, you could tell.
Oh, yeah.
You know, almost anyone else. Pattinson, you couldn't tell, which I thought was pretty cool. But Pattinson kind of sounded the same whether he was Bruce Wayne or Batman. I know you didn't see the film.
Sure.
But he did. He kind of sounded the same. Kevin, when I'm reading the comic, again, Bruce Wayne is Kevin.
Yes.
Batman is Kevin. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, and he was so charming as
Bruce.
Like,
Bruce,
it
right?
was so amazing.
I know. It really
how
was.
he could flip that switch.
I know.
I just really enjoyed his work, and I was truly sad when I saw he passed away. And I don't say that very often. There's been only a handful that have really struck me like that from my childhood. But you touched on something a moment ago. I wanted to quickly Keaton, like just circling back to him for a second, like he's really underrated. I feel like as an actor, like
I think as an actor in general, but he got blackballed after Batman Returns. Because as far as I'm aware, it was because he didn't do the third Batman. He didn't do the Val Kilmer Batman, and literally he was blackballed for years. So we missed we missed a lot of what I would consider kind of like a boxer, like Muhammad Ali. We missed his prime years because he was basically blackballed from boxing during the war. I think we missed Michael Keaton's what would have been his prime years of doing some really good movies. And there's a sprinkle of a few that he did in that time where he was amazing.
Beetlejuice
was before Batman, though.
It was, but
that's where.
But like when I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, man, like.
See, I forget about Beetlejuice.
You don't even recognize that it's him.
No, not really, not really, and that's why. I mean, to be honest, that's why people. I mean, I guess it happens so often, but when Michael Keaton was signed to be Batman, everyone kind of did what they do now. They went nuts. They're like, no, he's a comedian. He can't do this. He's like 5'7". Okay, I know that. But the fact is, a lot of comedians can play the drama because it's all about timing. Robin Williams played the drama like no one else.
Yeah.
And it really is. Comedians can do drama very well. And I think Keaton was, I mean, obviously, you can look back now and say, yeah, undeniably, those movies were successful. Absolutely successful. and we did, there's a few of them that he did after that. One of them, I think it may have been called Desperate Measures. I'm not sure, but he played a criminal. He was actually in prison, and some other cop guy had to go in and. It was like he was the smart criminal that was playing the whole game on everybody. And Michael Keaton was a really good psycho criminal. I mean, he could play multiple roles. And I think, I definitely think we missed a large window of what his career could have been.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that was kind of a whole separate tangent, but again, just kind of...
He's very charming too, though.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton is very... I watch him, and he seems very charismatic and very charming.
Yeah. And he's been, I mean, good in a variety of other roles, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of Homecoming, the Spider-Man film, like with Vulture and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, me either.
He was still very entertaining. But
he was
as
good.
Vulture.
He was good, right?
Was really
Michael
good.
Keaton was. He's one of those people that I would watch in anything.
Basically,
yeah, he really is.
Yeah, I mean, he's still. I mean, just really, really interesting. But yeah, wanted to touch on the Kevin Conroy thing. He will be missed as Batman. I'm saddened we won't hear anything new from him, but. Moving on and kind of like DC.
The DC news. Let's go from Batman to the other side of the lake there to Superman.
Yeah, Superman.
Henry Cavill, I guess, apparently, you never know anymore, but apparently he's back. Apparently the papers have been signed,
sure.
Allegedly. It depends on who you listen to. But, guys, I'm not a Henry Cavill fan. And you're not a Henry Cavill fan.
I wouldn't call myself a fan. I think he looks the part.
He looks like Superman. There's a lot of cosplayers that look like Superman. Though.
Right. I think there are people who could look more like Superman.
Yeah. Look, he's a handsome dude. He's a handsome guy. He has a screen presence, but when he says his lines in any movie, I'm sorry. It's like I'm watching him say his lines.
I've never looked at Henry Cavill and said, yes, I want to see more of Henry Cavill.
He nailed it. He nailed that scene. Right. Blah, 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 blah. No, never
said that.
And it's really strange. Like, I'm not a huge fan of The Witcher or what's the other one? The House of the Dragon. I'm not a huge fan of any of those. I love the original Lord of the Rings. But with The Witcher and that stuff, I'm not a fan of when they just throw nudity at things. Yes. It's basically like adult porn pretending not to be porn.
Well, I was actually thinking the same thing before
I don't
it came
like
out of your
it.
Mouth.
I don't like it. Like, if you want to watch porn, there's other things that you can watch that's just call it what it is, guys.
Sure.
But honestly, before I even got to one naked lady, I couldn't even finish the episode because I couldn't watch Henry Cavill.
Yeah. Yeah.
He looked amazing. The posters looked amazing. The images looked amazing.
Sure. And
then he speaks. And then I'm just watching an actor act. I'm not watching the character. And I think that's Henry all over.
I think he would be great on like one of those 90s fantasy like serial TV shows like Hercules. Like he would be a great Kevin Sorbo.
That's about the acting.
Right.
That's about the acting, a better looking Kevin Sorbo. Right. I mean, that's about the acting caliber that he has. Right. And nothing against him. He's probably a better actor than I am, having never acted ever. But I don't know, man. Like I tell you, I'll go one step further. I think he'd be amazing in some of the 80s cheesy romance novel pictures on the front. Instead of like Fabio. Oh, if any of you remember who the hell Fabio is.
Fabio, yes.
Like Henry Cavill with the Witcher hair could have done every
the chin butt.
The butt chin could have done every romance novel in the 80s and 90s and made an amazing career.
Yep.
But if you guys and gals out there who are just throwing a parade because he's Superman again, if you think he's going to save the character or save any of the entire DC franchise, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. It's not.
I think they've fundamentally just failed at humanizing Superman in a way that we can, like, I think they tried, like, I really think they tried with Man of Steel, and it just fell flat to me. Like,
no, I think what they did was they did the typical producer suit reaction. Let's try to make it more real, more grounded. And what that means is usually more depressing and more dark.
Gritty.
Now, that's something that I will say I admire Henry Cavill on, because what he wants is a brighter, more hopeful, more classically probably, I would assume, written Superman.
Sure.
He knows. I will say he seems like a cool guy to maybe hang out with. Like, if you want to play World of Warcraft, he actually loved the Witcher books.
Yes.
He loved the Witcher. Like, he knows the entire lore.
Sure.
I think that's really cool. I mean, he's a good-looking nerd. Who wouldn't like that?
Right.
Does that mean that his playing Superman is going to save anything? No. And it goes back to, can they make a good movie?
And the thing is, like, at this point, like, they keep, like, having all these... I think what made Marvel so successful and why it's kind of falling apart now is because they were making really quality films.
Yes. 2,
which DC's completely failed to do by and large for the past 20 years now. But I again, Nolan films aside,
here and there. I mean, there's some gems here and there, but as a unified as a unified
universe
piece of filmmaking, no.
And you got essentially just a remake of Taxi Driver and Joker, right? Like, well, that was the movie, right? The De Niro film.
Yeah, but I love Joker.
It was.
I did.
I felt it was kind of, I don't know. It was a very Gen Z Joker. Like,
here's the thing about the Joker. All right, here and this is my take on it, in my opinion. I can see there were some criticisms, and I agree that Joker was by no means any kind of criminal mastermind at all. He was a broken, mentally ill person.
Yes.
Okay, I agree. The film, having dealt with mental illness, and that's very personal to me, and to me, and the fact that I took care of my mom for 20 years, having dealt with mental illness, that film wasn't about the Joker. To me,
I agree.
To me, that film was a treatise on mental illness, and I almost swore. I'm trying not to swear, guys. I'm trying not to swear to save myself editing time. It nailed it. I mean, I cried a few times, and it nailed it. It really did. I would
agree to some extent on that. I think, but that's, I mean,
could it have not been called the Joker?
Yes.
Yes, it could have, and that's probably the downfall of it.
More if it wasn't called the Joker.
That's exactly, and I understand that. I do. I get it.
The thing but there were some other issues I had with it, but maybe we'll save that for a whole
we'll save it for
I really want to dig into the kind of some specific issues that I had with it. But
I think that was a gem. I personally feel that was a gem.
I would say it's one of the better films.
Don't make another one.
No.
Please don't make another one because they already went through this whole thing about it maybe being a musical with Harley Quinn, and I'm like, you're losing it. You're losing. No. You made something, and could this be what they do? Make something, just throw something good out there. One thing good and a whole pile of crap. Everyone loves it, and then sweep the rug out and ruin it for the next one.
Yeah,
just to piss everybody off.
But it feels like that's Hollywood in general nowadays. Even to where they're reaching back and grabbing classics that don't need sequels.
There's no way it's not on purpose.
Right. There are certain things, just don't touch it. Not everything. You can't milk everything, or you can, but you're going to ruin what you started. Inevitably, that cash cow goes dry. Whereas if you leave it alone, you can still merchandise around it. It's going to be a classic for years to come. And I think the Joker probably has that potential. I'm not its biggest proponent, but it wasn't bad. I don't
rewatch it constantly because it puts me in a certain type of way. Like it's dark.
Yeah. It's
dark.
Yeah.
You will feel it. And I think that's amazing. Does that mean that that's the best Joker? But no, it's not. But my God, it's still amazing.
But it just feels like between, Man of Steel was underwhelming to me. Batman versus Superman was very meh. And I felt like they got...
Even the director's cut, which was better, by the way. And I'm sure everyone's seen it by now. But the director's cut was better.
Sure.
But it was just a better bad movie.
Yeah.
That's it. You know what I mean? It was a better bad movie.
I have never been so miserable as I was when I watched Suicide Squad with you.
I think everybody was. Yeah, I don't.
And this is the first one, and what a mess.
Well, now you probably don't know, but now there's a release the Ayer cut.
Okay,
like the Snyder cut. Okay,
sure.
Now there's a release the Ayer cut. I've seen some other stuff that Ayer has done, guys. It's not going to be much better. Yeah. I'm saying it's not. I mean, God, like, as a director, you've got to hold the entire movie together from the first second to the last second. And there's a few things I've seen Ayer do where there are some drop-offs. Like he can't, and I'm not saying I could. The director's seat is probably the hardest seat in the business. You got to deal with the producers. You've got to deal with so much pressure. I would never want it.
Right.
So hats off to anyone willing to sit in that seat. That being said, you've got the first to the last second is all yours. And if there's drop-offs, people notice. And Suicide Squad was a mess. Was it his fault? I doubt it. I doubt it was all his fault. But having seen some other stuff that Ayer's done, his other stuff wasn't perfect either. Right. So I'm not totally jazzed for any Ayer cut. I'd watch it, but
I have very rarely seen a movie that I hated as much as that first Suicide Squad. I hated that movie.
H-word.
Like I don't say like I'm me. I'm a huge Mystery Science Theater 3000 fan. I like bad movies.
Yeah, I know.
And this one was so bad, you couldn't even stomach it. Like it was just. I had no idea what I was even watching anymore.
But it's funny you said that because my wife yells at me a lot because, like, I'll be doing something, but Batman v Superman will be on the screen. You know what I mean? It's a great background movie.
Sure.
And she's like, "You hate this movie? Why do you watch it?" I said, "Because it's got some cool scenes." But that's what it's good for. It's got some cool scenes. I've never done that with Suicide Squad. No. You know what I mean? I don't want it in the background, the foreground, the middle ground. I don't want it on my lawn. I don't want it anywhere.
Right.
You know?
And I'm the same way with Mystery Science Theater 3000 or like some of those cheesy 60s Gamera films. Like I will throw them on the background just because I love camp.
Yeah.
And I love that kind of charming badness.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This was not charming, but it was really, really bad.
No, it was a mess. It was a stinky pile of mess. And that's, and again, that, okay. Knowing what they do to movies now, and whether whose fault it is, who the hell knows? It's everybody's fault, honestly. And you know what, guys? By the way, it's our fault for still paying money to see this crap. Stop. I mean, I know this is what we love. I love it. Matt loves it. You all love it. But the fact is, as long as you're paying money, even if you're paying money just to yell and bitch at the end of it, they got you. They don't care.
Yep.
They don't care if you like it or don't like it, because with social media, you're all talking about it. We're talking about it right now. I get it. But that being said, could Jared Leto let's say Jared Leto was an amazing Joker. Let's say he was a phenomenal Joker. Would that have helped the movie? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say if you just let's add another 3 minutes of him being the Joker, some really cool stuff, but the rest of the movie is exactly the same.
I think Leto's Joker, one, I'll be honest for a second, when I was thinking about that film, I actually forgot that he was in it. Because he's like
another person that you're like, just show your face.
I remember the first time I saw that, and I was just like, what is the deal with the grill and the Post Malone tats? And I'm just
now, no matter what version of the movie that you want to watch, the Ayer cut or the let's say the studio cut, that was Ayer's choice for them. That was Ayer.
Right. Yeah.
That was him.
And it was the most ridiculous thing. I mean, we're talking about a comic book movie where, a guy dresses up like a clown, but way to completely remove all intimidation factor from like to me, it was just instantaneous. Like, I have no respect for this character. And you know what? If it was a different film, if it was just a typical gangster movie and there's a guy dressed up like that, okay, like I could, but like you're taking this iconic character and it just looked goofy, and I just had
again, the point is, let's say whoever liked him as a Joker or thought he could do a good job. The whole movie's the same, but you got Jared Leto doing this amazing Joker. Would that really change the fact that it was a shit movie?
No, I think it would just be like, oh man, they really, messed up.
That's my point about Henry.
He was good, and
that's my point about Henry Cavill.
Yeah,
it's not going to take a Henry Cavill. He's a face. He's a face that isn't really believable when he opens his mouth. My opinion. You need a script. You need a director. You need a studio that will leave you alone. Or I've seen directors get left alone, and I'm like, the studio probably should have stepped in. Right. There are times where that does happen.
Sure.
And it's like, you need so much to make a good movie. And is it possible? Is it anymore? Is it possible?
I think it is, but one, I think DC, all right, so Black Adam's a new big one, and I think it's gotten some pretty positive reviews from fans.
From what I've seen, Black Adam is like, it was only good because it wasn't bad.
Right.
That's pretty much what I'm getting from it.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
It wasn't terrible. But is that the new benchmark? Because I'm out. If that's it, I'm out. I mean, it wasn't bad. So.
For Marvel, that's kind of the new benchmark. Like, that is the new benchmark for Marvel.
And they can't even hit that.
Right.
Honestly, they can't even hit that.
I love, for those that know me, I will say the character Shazam, not because I go by that name, but because I want people to know who I'm talking about.
No.
To me, it will always be Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I think it's the dumbest thing ever that they changed the character's name. Whatever. I know all the legal reasons. I know the battle.
And it is what it is. It is what it is. And I'll tell you, I used to call him Shazam. I never understood the Captain Marvel thing, but you actually liked this character before the movie. I never it was never a thing for me.
No, I like it. In fact, one of my favorite animated DC films is the Superman Shazam crossover.
Oh, dude, that was phenomenal.
Where they take on Black Adam.
Oh my God, that was phenomenal.
Give me that movie.
So why can't DC Animated just take over DC Film?
Like the direction of it, that would be amazing.
The writers, the directors,
absolutely.
Because there is rarely a DC animated film that I don't find phenomenal.
Yeah, you're right.
Really good.
They did a great job on The Killing Joke.
Even when they changed the story from the graphic novel itself, it's still a good rendition of the story.
There was a little bit of weirdness in The Killing Joke. Now that I
recall, there's a scene that's not one I watch over again because of what they did with Batman and Batgirl.
Yes,
that was disgusting.
Yeah,
and that was some new. I don't know what the hell that
right.
was.
I remember watching. So thank you for reminding me of that, because I was watching that with my son, and I'm like,
this is wrong.
No,
this is wrong.
I'm not a fan of this, and I
really that was inappropriate on so many levels. It was just like I don't understand
who
allowed that, because DC Animated, they've gotten a little bit more lax with the blood and stuff.
Sure,
but for the most part, that was really, really inappropriate.
Yeah.
And that's not something they usually pull. And they haven't since, as far as I'm aware, to be honest.
Right.
So that was a weird one.
The big one for me was Under the Red Hood. Like,
Brittany loves that one.
Yeah,
my wife loves Under the Red Hood, yeah.
That's one of my, favorite, even though I'm not a fan of resurrecting, like, permadead comic book characters.
Yeah, I know.
But as far as that concept goes, I think that storyline does it as well as any. And
I'm actually a big fan of. Okay, so if you watch enough of the DC animation, you definitely notice that with each era of their animation, they seem to use. It might be the same studio. It looks like a different studio because the style of animation is different.
Correct.
They'll do like 6 or 7 movies with one style of animation, and then when they switch to the next one, it's a totally different style for that group. I'm really enjoying this new style that they've been using, like it was the Long Halloween. Did you see the Long Halloween yet?
No.
It's a 2-parter.
I haven't seen it yet.
Unbelievable.
But I've seen
so good.
The art style, which
so
looks really
good.
Cool. So I've got to actually catch up on some of that. And I actually look forward to that more than I do like new live action films.
Oh, by far.
It's not even close.
Honestly, I'll be honest, it's social media that have really... Well, okay, all right. Social media, every YouTube channel, unfortunately, I guess like ours, because we're going to be in that group, God willing. Unfortunately, the fact is, when you talk about and complain about the movie for 2 years before it's even made, it really does ruin what you used to feel as a kid before you saw, which was only excitement.
I'll say this.
I don't want to be a part of that, but man, it's almost like,
right.
How can you not be? That's the world now.
And I got to be honest, like I'm feeling some old school excitement. I'm hope nowadays. You know what's awful is I approach a movie where I'm just afraid. like please don't screw this up. Like just don't screw it up.
I'm so afraid that I don't want them to make it.
Right.
Pattinson Batman. When me and Brittany walked out of Pattinson Batman, we were in awe. And you still have to watch it, buddy. You've got to see this.
It's on my list.
We were in awe. I mean, my God. And it was not only a good Batman movie, but for me and Brittany, it was one of the better movies we've seen, just movies, in a few years.
Nice.
It was a good movie. And I told her on the way home exactly what they would do if they were going to make a second one. Maybe that week or the week after, it starts to come out. The toy, it didn't hit like 1 billion. It did well, but this billion mark is where everyone wants to be now, right?
Right.
Well, a lot of it was because of the toys. The merchandise, that's what really kicks it over. And to be honest, that movie wasn't merchandisable for kids.
Right.
You could definitely, it is. So what are they going to do? The next one, if they do it, which I guess is scheduled for like 5 years from now, it's going to be a little bit lighter. Mm-hmm. It's going to have a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that. Exactly what wasn't in the first one, which made it great.
Right.
They're going to ruin it. And again, like you fear, don't let it be bad. I fear them even making it.
Oh, I agree. Like,
leave the Joker alone. Leave Pattinson Batman alone. They're amazing one-offs. You got lucky. You're going to ruin it.
Yeah. No, and I'm fine with that. Like, don't mess with something that worked. And unless you have built something that is clearly sustainable in its style. And that's the thing. I feel like they keep trying to reinvent the wheel with these characters.
Oh my! Especially one of the worst things.
The Shazam movie made it a joke, and it's like, dude, Shazam or Captain Marvel was basically Magic Superman.
It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a comedy.
I didn't need it to be a comedy. They didn't need to turn him into Deadpool. Like, I'm sure they've got plenty of other characters they could do.
That's actually one of the reasons why I didn't want to see the movie.
Right.
Now, when I saw it, it was still, for me, it was done well enough to where I still thought it was entertaining and good. It was decent, right?
Yeah.
And it really wasn't horrible. It leaned more towards good. But yeah, it was that type of thing where they changed it into a comedy. That's what made me not want to see it.
Right. I didn't want to see, like, to me, because I have an attachment to that character. I know I'm in the minority. Okay. I know that. I get that.
Well, they're out of characters, dude. Most characters coming out nowadays, even Black Adam. No one cares about Black Adam. No one besides you who would care about Captain Marvel.
Right. I did care about
Shazam,
Black Adam.
Sorry, guys.
But most people that care about Black Adam only care about him because it's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Like, that's literally their connection to the character.
And the character is only known because he is the Lex Luthor to Shazam.
Right.
That's the only reason why Black Adam's known.
Right.
So
so no, it's a really, really good point. And but like you said, so obviously, kind of out along the same point, being afraid of sequels. Big news for me recently. They just announced I got two presents coming. I've got Godzilla and Kong coming. They've given it a title. It's not Godzilla versus Kong. It's Godzilla and Kong.
You mean, okay, are you talking about the second one to Godzilla and King Kong?
They announced a sequel.
Okay.
It's from what I understand, I've seen reports that the filmings, like the initial filming's done. Like it's
no shit, I didn't know that.
Like it's coming out next year, from what I understand. So super excited about that. Really liked the first film. It wasn't perfect by any means. Like there was a lot of things.
No, we talked about that. Yeah,
we can. But again, not rehashing that. But again, more Godzilla is good. And then Toho also announced that they're creating a new Japanese Godzilla film.
That I did see.
Yeah, and I don't believe it's going to have any connection to 2016's Shin Godzilla. And I almost think it's a good thing for some of the same reasons we're talking about with the Batman. Like, it was a darker, edgier movie. They kind of took Godzilla in some strange directions in that film.
I tried to watch clips of it, and I don't like it. It's not,
really
you might as well not call it Godzilla. They changed it so much that you might as well not call it Godzilla to me.
I think it almost was
gross.
It was, well, certain parts were definitely
It really did. Like, I don't like looking at him. It looks gross to me. It's very strange.
I never understood why they stuck, when I was watching these initial images and trailers coming out, I could have sworn that they were going to bulk up at some point his upper body. Like, it looked like he was still growing.
In the middle of a transition.
Or regenerating.
Yeah.
And I never understood why they stuck with that bowling pin design. Like,
it was a bowling pin. You're right.
Really, it was like just super fat on the bottom. Like, he had this bowling pin type shape, and these tiny little arms.
Don't fat shame Godzilla.
Right? Don't pin shame Godzilla.
He's beautiful no matter what.
Yeah, he just had some thunder thighs. It's all good. Actually, the 90s Godzilla, which I love that design, is known as
had some thunder thighs and the old one. Yeah,
well, I mean, he looked like he was drawn by Rob Liefeld there. Like, he was, he really did.
Rob, I do. I love Rob because of the 90s, but I get it. There's no reason that really...
Rob created some really amazing things. I'm not going to lie.
I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, I don't want to talk about Rob. I have a love for Rob Liefeld, and I don't want to throw shade on Rob. I like him, so...
Yeah. I don't want to throw shade on him either. I really have an appreciation. I mean, dude created, like, Cable and Deadpool and...
Deadpool being actually, the original was a serious assassin. He wasn't like a comedic. Yeah.
It's a funny thing. Well, he had like little quirks about him, I think.
Well, everyone does, right? But not
to the extent that it is.
Yeah.
No.
Which, I mean, honestly, I guess made it popular. I don't think the character was going anywhere in the serious direction, so making it more of like a weird comedy thing seemed to work.
Yeah,
and it's popular now.
It took a character that was never popular.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Whereas, I don't know if during, like in the 40s, like Captain Marvel or Shazam, actually outsold like Superman for a while.
Oh, dude, Superman and Batman and almost any character, X-Men, all of them, they've had cancellations. They've had huge dips over like the 85 years, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
They've had huge ups and downs. But yeah.
But now with going back, we'll stay away from Rob. But circling back to the fear of new movie, like Shin Godzilla was, to me, it was a really good movie. But it was also, they had to take it in weird enough directions that I'm afraid, because I'm also going to say I'm not a fan of, like, I was so excited for the Godzilla animes. Like, so excited.
Oh, yeah.
And all of them missed the mark, in my opinion. Like, I didn't feel
by far
like any of them actually fit the spirit of Godzilla. And Shin Godzilla did kind of have some of the vibes of the original. Like, that's what appealed to me about it. And there were some really cool scenes in that movie. I felt like it was him. The thing that bothered me most was probably like tail mouth lasers.
Very strange.
Very
weird. And those are the things that like threw me off so much to where it's like I'm not watching Godzilla anymore.
And then the creatures coming out of his tail at the end. That was probably,
I never even saw that. Yeah, that would have pissed me off. So I would never saw that.
So
now, okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. All right.
So I'm terrified for the new one.
The new one. Okay, this new one coming out, the second King Kong Godzilla.
Yes.
All right. From our last talk, how it's gone from the Godzilla with Cranston, which was a pretty serious take,
yes,
to the second one, which was my favorite. It was like right in the middle.
Yeah.
To the third one, you could call that the Val Kilmer of the Godzilla movies. It's riding that line. I still find the Val Kilmer Batman entertaining and not bad. Could this next one with what there you can see where it's going.
Is it going to be the Clooney?
Is it going to be the Clooney of Godzilla? You can see where this is going. Not.
So, one, I think the third one being Godzilla versus Kong.
We might as well split this one up into two different podcasts.
We could.
We are so far off topic again, just like last time.
Yeah,
we might as well. This will be two. There's no reason why this should be anywhere near attached to Kevin Conroy and Henry.
Maybe
we're so far off.
I
don't know where I would cut it, but let's just keep going.
I don't know, probably around the 35-minute mark somewhere. We'll just keep rolling with it. So yes, Godzilla versus Kong kind of got into some weird territory where it almost didn't feel serious at times. I didn't really like or love the fact that Godzilla blew a hole to the center of the earth.
Oh my God.
But I will say that kind of goofy campiness is not completely out of character for him either.
I know it's not out of character, but there are things that you could get away with 40 years ago.
Right.
You just can't. And they've tried. Like they've remade some movies, like the Dukes of Hazzard movie, which you're not even, most of you guys aren't even going to know what the hell that is, but the Dukes, like they've tried to remake camp before, and even keeping it at pretty much the same level of camp, it doesn't it's work. A different audience. It really is. Like when they try to kind of do different, so 80s and 90s campy action movies, there was a time where they were trying to bring back the camp. Doesn't really work well anymore.
No, and the thing about camp is I feel like
it can't be on purpose.
It
can't be on purpose. Otherwise, it's crap.
Right.
It's either camp or crap, and camp is accidental or old. So there's something charming about it.
Sure.
Or it's crap,
I agree
because you tried, and when you try, it's just you fall on your face every single time.
Yes, and I completely agree. So that kind of manufactured stuff doesn't really work. So it wasn't my favorite part, but I forgave it because the rest of the movie was solid enough. I could have done without
riding that line though, right?
Right.
Riding that line, and so did the Kilmer.
You could
did the Kilmer
have
Batman. It wrote a line.
I wish they would have kind of cut the Millie Bobby Brown storyline like completely. Like I didn't need to see her back.
No.
Like,
no.
Her storyline was completely pointless.
It was really pointless. And I don't really understand why it was even in there, to be honest.
It was literally just an excuse to bring her back
just
in.
To carry
like,
another
character. She's in Stranger Things, so
again,
we're going to bring her back.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And then you had the goofy, conspiracy theory guy who was right about everything, which, is...
What I couldn't stand is her friend, that Australian kid.
Yes.
The same one. He's the same one that was in the second Deadpool, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Oh my God, I cannot stand that kid.
Like, he was such a bad character, I barely remember him.
He actually ruined the second Deadpool movie for me.
What really needed to happen was we needed more time with the villains of the film. Like, one, you have Serizawa's, like, son in there, who's like piloting Mechagodzilla. Like, one, he was super cool from everything I saw of him. Give me more of him.
He was cool. He was a cool looking character.
Develop him.
You're right.
Like, I was interested in him, and you just totally just glossed over it.
Yeah.
How did they get the Ghidorah head? Which Ghidorah head was it? Like, show me where that stuff came from. I felt there was so many things they could have done to really develop that story. One, they could have brought back the eco-terrorist from the end from King of the Monsters. They really could have brought that back, that character, and again, kind of cashed in.
There's a lot that they can always do with the first movie, second movie. There's a lot that they can always do, but they seem to generally do less as the movies progress.
Well, I think they have this idea that they don't have to, like, it doesn't have to fit, like, perfectly together. And it's like...
They're right. They're not wrong. They're not... Now, okay, they're wrong, but when it comes to making money, they're not wrong. You know what I mean?
I think if they actually paid attention to those details and put together a coherent storyline, a coherent
That's
universe,
the world I want to live in.
Right. Like, I think
it just doesn't happen.
I think they would actually make more money.
And that's again, like, how... Why do people like us see it? And we're by far not alone. I mean, why do people like us see this? But the people, and I'm not talking about today with whatever agenda that Hollywood has. I'm not even talking about that. These are historical things that have happened with the second or third or fourth movie in a series, in a franchise.
Oh yeah.
These are not new problems. You know what I mean?
I love the Pirates of the Caribbean films. And by the time you got around to the fifth one, there's some serious plot holes you're digging into.
Yeah.
Like, and why? Because it's completely unnecessary. And I could spend a whole episode talking about those.
Ranting about this. See, and those are ones that I've never seen. To this day, I've never seen the pirate movie.
Really?
Yeah, but you know why? You remember, I can't get past the first movie. I can't. I've gotten like 45 minutes in, and I'm bored to tears. And that's the movie that you said...
everyone loves, but is not my favorite.
But
like,
when
I'm the weird
you got to get past the first one.
Yes.
And then it gets really good. And I can't get past the first one. I'm stuck.
And I'm sure everyone listening right now is like getting their
pitchfork. The third cut of
single
podcast. Yes.
We're now on topic 3, which honestly is kind of fun. Like, I have a feeling like people out there are possibly as ADHD as we are. What we're gonna do, and I explained this before. What I'm going to do is we're really gonna really try to do this once a week, and we really have to. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take each one, and the original idea was a half hour. Good luck, right? And
cutting that up into 10-minute sections, right? Like 3 10-minute sections, so you have the whole one. And you've got 3 10-minute sections that you can watch about the different topics we might talk about. So that was the original idea. And now we talk so much that it's like we literally sit down to do one podcast and we end up basically recording. This could be number 3 right here at this point. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel bad for my wife because I always tell her I'll be back as soon as possible. And it just doesn't, she doesn't really care. I care. She doesn't really care. This really could be like podcast number 3 because now what are we talking about? The Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right.
Which is like 1,000 steps removed from the death of Kevin Conroy.
But yes, it is. But we don't, I don't have to go down that rabbit hole too much, but, yes, at some point, if you want, we could just jump in at movie number 2. I could fill you in and then see if it hooks you. And just start from there and see if it hooks you. Because, like I said, I was not a fan. I saw the first one. I thought it was an okay movie. I thought Johnny Depp was probably, the most truly entertaining part of that. But it wasn't until I saw the second one that really reeled me in. Yeah. But as far as Godzilla and Kong goes, I hope. I hope they can take it in a more like this is an opportunity for them to do some really cool things, and I think they did some really cool things in the first one. But I always felt like I needed a little bit more, like the battle Kong has with Warbat and Nizuki in. Those were the flying like cobra
in the underworld.
Yes.
In the Hollow Earth. Okay.
Hollow Earth. Yes. And I thought that might give me a little bit more of that. Give me the Mechagodzilla fight was awesome.
Yeah, but
cool.
It
was really quick.
It was quick.
That Mechagodzilla was super intimidating to me.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna disagree.
Okay.
I didn't like him. All I saw when that Mechagodzilla came out was like Robo Blocks or some sort of Lego. It was very, very square, blocky, and I didn't like the design.
So I got definite, and I think it was intentional. I got like Terminator vibes from him. Like I got T-800 Terminator vibes, and that was really appealing.
I could see that. I just didn't. I'm not saying that they should have kept the original design, which was very dated, right? But they can update the original design. I think they changed. I mean, I'm looking at it from an artist's point of view.
Right.
The original design was circular, had a lot of circles, curved lines to it. This one, literally the exact opposite shape. Everything was straight, square. And I didn't like the design. Well, and
I think that was for a couple of reasons. I think it was intentional for a few reasons. One, from what I understand, the director really wanted him to go in that Terminator type of direction. The other thing was the same guy actually designed Mechagodzilla a few years earlier for Ready Player One.
Oh, okay.
Mechagodzilla shows up at the end, and he actually has a pretty cool retro design.
I actually like that design.
Yeah,
okay, so I remember that. I like that design.
Yeah, and but I think they wanted to differentiate this one a little bit from the others. And you're right, like most of the older ones have the original from the 70s has a very retro look, very like the rivets all over the place and stuff like that. I love that design.
I do too.
Don't get me wrong. And then the 90s one was very 90s. It was super smooth, lines and things like that. And then the one from the early 2000s ended up going in a bit more of sharper angles and like there was some contrast with like the gaps in his armor plating and stuff like that, showing like the darker shades underneath. So that was kind of cool. So I was okay with something new. I think it was a worthy addition to it. Maybe not the best.
I don't think it was horrible. I mean, okay, I personally don't like the design. I don't think it was horrible, but I don't like the design.
Sure.
There was an intimidation factor in it, though.
Yeah,
I agree completely.
Came out and like started wrecking.
I think any point where you can come out of a mountain, you've pretty much set yourself up as a badass.
Right. And
that's anything.
Like you have this point. Now, granted, Godzilla.
If I came out of a mountain and then went and got some milk, I'd be the biggest badass trying to get milk ever. Yes. You know what I mean? That was awesome.
I think that's fair. And I just thought it was super cool because let's be fair to Godzilla for a moment. He had to have been pretty exhausted at this point. Like
my God.
He literally just trashed Hong Kong. He blew a hole into Hollow Earth with his fire breath.
That alone, you need a nap.
Right. And then like literally had this battle, gets knocked in the head with Kong's axe, and then like says, okay, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
And let's face it, he kills Kong. I'm sorry. I don't care who I make mad. He killed Kong.
Godzilla won.
Godzilla won.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
I've been waiting my entire life to say that. My entire life. Since, I wasn't even born in 1962 when the original happened, but...
I mean, the fact is, they had to make Kong, how much bigger just to compete with Godzilla.
Sure, yeah.
And yes, they made Godzilla bigger compared to where they used to be, but that's just what they do.
Sure.
Every character is just bigger, but they had to, quadruple King Kong size. Easily quadruple.
Yeah, and the idea was he was a juvenile in the Skull Island film.
Yeah.
And which I don't mind. I thought it all worked well, especially because Skull Island, you needed him to interact more on a human level.
Yeah.
Because you had Samuel L. Jackson's character, which was awesome. And
dude, that was Kong's. You know what's weird?
Movie.
That was a good movie.
It was a really good movie.
Is that one kind of forgotten already?
No, I don't think so in the fandom.
I think it's still. I hope they still like it because Samuel L. Jackson looking at King Kong, those two how the hell? I know that King Kong is not actually there.
Sure.
That being said, only Samuel L. Jackson could stare down King Kong and be like, "Who's gonna win?"
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I mean? It was really good. It was really good.
Really good.
It's my monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's gonna win that?
I absolutely love that film, and I'm not I'm a Godzilla guy diehard, but that was in my opinion, other than probably the original 1933.
I like the
film.
Peter Jackson one.
I do like the. I like the Peter Jackson.
I really like the Peter Jackson one.
But it's different. It's different.
Oh, yeah.
To me, when I watch Kong, it's really not the same thing to me as watching Godzilla. Not the solo Kong films for the most part.
Oh, I've never been a huge fan of King Kong, to be honest. I needed something more different than a big monkey, and it's Godzilla.
Yeah. And I like the 33 film. I still have a great love for it. I watched it a ton growing up. But for me, King Kong was more the one that fought Godzilla. It was the Kong from Faroe Island in the Japanese films. Eventually, I saw King Kong Escapes, which was another.
So you have such a deeper understanding of the MonsterVerse than I do by far. I'm way more surface level than
I'm a kaiju.
Yeah, you're the fanatic. Nerd. You're the fan.
I know kaiju films the way you know comic books. You would probably I have a good knowledge.
You know what's weird? I'm not even a comic book. I don't know what you would call it. I'm not an encyclopedia of comic books. It's very strange. I definitely have more knowledge of comic books than the average person. But I couldn't tell you who drew Captain America in 1950 to 1957. You know what I mean? There are people out there that can do that. Comic historians. That was never me. My whole thing that literally most of who I am is just not wanting to be on this planet. And what that takes is I like things that don't exist. So comics.
Sure.
Godzilla over King Kong, which is just a larger version of something that does exist. You know what I mean?
Right.
I like sci-fi. I like things that get me off this planet. I don't like it here. I've never, not to be depressing, I've never liked it here. And so that's what comics were to me. Right. And then it gave me, first of all, that's what really started me reading. Because I hated reading before comics. Hated reading. And then it gave me an avenue to take my artwork. So I didn't know what to do with my art. So it gave me, comic books is very, very, has a very deep meaning in me, but I never went down the whole, some people can name off all their sports heroes, every player from the Yankees from 1930, whatever. There are comic book people like that. That was never me.
You know what's funny is as I've gotten older, because I used to be like that, and I still am to some extent. When I was younger, I would be OCD about the things I love, and I still am with very select things like my giant monster movies, for the most part. But I have noticed I'm slipping in recent years where to me, it's not as important that I can name, like with Godzilla and Gamera and some other films, I can pretty much name when they came out, what country where they were produced in, and things like that. But I find myself more and more as I'm growing older, I don't have the time to obsess like I used to. It used to be if I loved something.
It's the plight of getting older. It's the plight of having a family, of having kids, of all of that stuff.
So the time and the research that went into that stuff is just not as available to me anymore. So while I can still like sit here and talk about a number of things in the kaiju like world, there are still some things now that slip past me.
I've always had numerous hobbies. So I've always, like, comic books was always my base, right?
Sure.
But I also liked working out. I also liked martial arts.
Same.
Fighting. I liked, I liked movies. I like different kinds of movies.
Yes, me too.
And then there's a time where I have to spend on my artwork. And then where comic books really gave me the love of reading, when I was 20 years old, I literally decided, I said it out loud, I want to know everything.
Sure.
And that got me reading all different types of books on philosophy, on psychology.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things. So I'm kind of like a jack of all trades.
Me too.
And I don't want to say master of none because I'm a fairly decent artist and a decent writer.
Oh, I would say you're phenomenal.
Thank you. But I really, there are people that I'm just amazed at, like, the knowledge they have on just one particular subject.
But, and likewise, I have a bunch of hobbies too. Like, I'm just looking around, like, I used to be a massive retro gamer and was super into that, like, whole history and just...
there wasn't, even not too long, just a few years ago, there wasn't a time when I would come over here or look in the window when I'm waiting for you to answer the door and you're not on your computer playing a game.
Sure, right.
Like, you were playing a video game. That's what Matt was
for
doing.
better or for worse.
Better or for worse. There are plenty of reasons to escape back then. I know.
Absolutely. And, another one of my hobbies is, electric guitars. Specifically, I'm a huge fan of, Ibanez electric guitars. I know it's kind of a weird one. Everyone's usually a Fender or Gibson guy.
See, it's so weird to even hear you say that because I've known you for years, and yet I don't even know that side of you, to be honest.
Really? That's interesting.
No, I really don't. I really don't. I know you've written music.
Sure.
And I've read some of your lyrics, and they're fucking amazing. Sorry, I'll cancel that one out. They're effing amazing. They really are good lyrics, but you're a good writer. So, there it is.
Thank you.
I know your love of Korn. I know you had a love of music, but when it comes to actually playing, I've never, like, I don't know that side of you.
I'll have to one day bust out.
That's crazy.
Something, cool.
Sing me something out my window.
Yes. I will show up, almost, who is that? John Cusack?
John Cusack, just say anything.
Instead of the boombox, I'll have like an amp and a guitar, and I'll be in my black leather trench coat with crow face paint on. We'll just roll with it.
God, have you seen that kid? Man, this is going off the freaking rails. Have you seen the kid playing the bass guitar on the corner once in a while?
Oh, yes.
Do you know who he is or anything?
His name's Dan, I think.
Okay, guys.
I don't want to say his last name, but
there's a kid. Okay, we live in a small city. It's basically a large town. All right, between Buffalo and Rochester,
about 60,000 population.
And 60? Are we at 60? You think?
I think.
Oh God, that's why it's so awful. It's too many. Anyway, there's too many.
Right.
So there's this one guy, because it's getting weird here. It's getting weird. That paints his face and goes and sets up his bass guitar on the corner and just plays. And it's just something that started happening one day. And it's like, oh, okay, this now.
Right. And it's just got a little amplifier.
And that's what
metal riffs.
Metal riffs.
Just stands there.
And he's not bad. I don't think he's that bad. I know nothing about music.
He's not bad. The amp is, it sounds terrible.
Do I need you with a painted face, scaring the elderly people away from my store? I don't need that.
He weirds people out for sure.
I
walked up to him and started talking to him the one day. He seems, I mean, he definitely, I don't know, from the vibe I get now, I've seen some drama on Facebook.
As far as someone standing around with a guitar and a painted face on the street corner goes,
he seems relatively
not the worst.
Not the worst, yeah. Not hard. I don't know. Like you hesitate to say harmless because I don't really know, but like he was a nice enough guy to talk to. I've seen some drama on Facebook. Somehow I got like. I saw
that's unheard of.
A friend.
Drama.
He was like there was like some big family thing, and I kind of made a knee jerk judgment, but I don't know, so I don't want to I don't know the situation, and I was kind of making some judgments on folks just based on that surface level stuff. But that would be kind of the equivalent.
So we live in a large town, small city, but I guess 60,000 is not. I mean, you can feel it. Okay, so we're in a dense area, and you can feel 60,000. We're right between Buffalo and Rochester, and in the past 20 years, especially the past, let's say 6-7 years, it's gotten weird.
It's gotten weird. Someone was just shot around the corner from me, right from where we're sitting right now.
Someone was just shot around the corner. I mean, it was a year and a half ago, or maybe a year ago, from my store.
Yeah, and I know that to some people that might not sound like that uncommon.
From where we grew up, here,
it's unheard of.
Unheard of, and it's not anymore. It's God. What is? I wish Henry Cavill could come and Henry Cavill could just come with his giant S and save our town.
Yes.
Let's see if he can. Let's see if hope. It's like a winding river on his chest in the S.
Yes.
And it always. I don't know what the hell that he was saying, but so costume wise, okay. Let's bring it back really quick to Henry Cavill, and then we're going to end this because we're so far off the rails. We might as well just be eating pizza and watching TV at this point.
Right.
So costume wise, not a huge difference between the movies. However, I am a fan of the Man of Steel version. It's a little bit darker colors, a little bit darker on the tones. But what I don't like that they added in the Batman v Superman is that what he called it in the Joss Whedon version of the Justice League movies, the Winding River. There's a design they put in the S on his chest.
Yes.
It bugs the shit out of me. I don't know why it bugs me so much, but Superman is my guy. Since I was 4 years old, I don't know why.
I love Superman.
My parents bought me Superman everything. I don't remember asking for it, but that's where it started, dude. So I really don't put anything with the S. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Don't add any. And I think it's kind of distracting. As a design, it's kind of distracting.
It makes it too busy by far.
Yes. So I'm hoping that they take that out. I don't like that.
I think that whatever that thing is in the middle of the S, stop it. Just don't.
Stop it. Yeah.
It's unnecessary. It looks like crap.
Yeah.
Stop it.
And I tell you what. Do you remember the cafeteria scene? And well, you probably do. You saw Shazam, right? You saw the movie? Okay. When they used the double for Superman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You saw. I actually really liked the colors that they used. They changed the belt area a little bit.
Right.
On that, I need something there.
Yeah.
I know the red tights are really weird nowadays. I know the red underwear tights are really weird nowadays. But I need some color there. I need something there. And that's the only part of the Man of Steel outfit I didn't like. It kind of looks like a onesie with boots.
Yeah.
I need something in the middle to cut it up a little bit.
I agree.
And I think the one in Shazam, that design, those colors, they were subtle. I really liked it a lot. I really hope they do something with that.
I agree. That suit definitely needs something to break up the bottom from the top.
They tried to do that in the comics when they had, I think it was the Reborn. They tried to just make the blue onesie. And then even, you know what, the original, in like the first few issues, he didn't even have red boots. He had like a red stripe on his calf.
Right.
But they took away the red boot. That looked literally like a onesie. I did not like that design at all. That was Jim Lee's design. And then slowly, I think literally within 1 year, they were back to the red tights. You know what I mean? It didn't last. No redesign of Superman lasts long.
It's funny. As much as I know it looks kind of weird, like I'm okay with I don't know. I guess I've never really been bothered by the red. I know translating it to the big screen is tough.
I don't think anyone is, though. I don't think anyone is truly bothered by it because it's always been that.
Right.
Now, they've done enough Batman that don't have any underwear looking thing. It's always a black suit for the most part. You know what I mean? Even Affleck's gray suit didn't have any black underwear. Right? So they've done it enough times with Batman to where you don't miss it on the big screen. You don't notice it. And it would look weird now, I think.
Black, for the most, or black and gray.
Yeah, they've never done a blue rendition.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're never
But for Superman, the red's always been there. And I don't need the red everything, but the Shazam take had some red in the middle and it broke it up perfectly.
Yeah.
Design-wise, as an artist, I really liked it.
I agree. I think it's phenomenal. I agree. I think one of my biggest issues with Man of Steel was that drab costume.
Dude, it was Snyder and it was the company and it was Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
it was both of them.
I needed a brighter Superman.
And Henry's all for that. And I love that because he is, like, even with The Witcher, he is like source material guy. I think that's really cool. Yeah. He knows what Superman should be, and I love that. But can they make a good movie? Does he know who Clark Kent should be? That's a totally different character.
I agree.
His Clark Kent
sucked. Like, totally uninteresting.
Not even trying.
Can't even remember Clark Kent. Yeah.
Literally. And that's not because he's trying to not be memorable as a Clark Kent character. It's because he can't act. That being said, his Clark Kent, I mean, there was a scene in Christopher Reeve's, the first movie, where after he flies Lois Lane around, you know what I mean? He's going to take her out for a burger. He comes in, he's all hunched over, right? He's playing Clark Kent, and he thinks about telling her that he's Superman. He takes off the glasses, he stands up straight, and I swear to God, he becomes a different person.
Right, yeah.
That's Christopher Reeves being an actor.
Right, yeah.
You could not tell. The best rendition, you couldn't tell that Clark Kent was Superman.
Right.
And that is acting. That was amazing, dude. Yeah. I'll never forget that.
And, it's funny because that's one of Superman's biggest criticisms is the whole, he just takes off his glasses thing.
I know, but Christopher Reeves made it believable, dude.
I think you could, done well, that could be so powerful in a new movie. Just that dynamic of Clark versus Superman.
This is what me and you do. All right. So this is we take something we don't like and me and Matt can fix it. We can fix it. We've done it a billion times.
I believe
so. My rendition of Clark Kent, of something that Henry Cavill can do as Clark Kent, that no one's done yet, is more of a comedic approach, of course. But have him, first of all, do something with his hair. You can't keep his hair the same. Do the basics, right? Put larger clothing on him so he doesn't look as muscular. But my version of Clark Kent for these movies only, he would constantly have hay fever. He would constantly have allergies. He'd be sneezing. He'd always have a Kleenex with him. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He'd be very, very awkward. All his mannerisms that he would be doing because he's constantly stuffed up with sinuses, all of that would completely hide his handsomeness. Mm-hmm. I think, and you could really add a comedic element to Clark Kent, which is what Clark Kent is. Clark Kent is the comedic background to Superman. And that's my take on what Henry Cavill could do.
And then you'd have this cool dynamic. It's similar to Batman, where really the quote unquote mask is the person.
Yeah.
And the civilian.
The mask is Clark Kent.
Right. The mask
is Clark Kent.
Yeah.
The mask is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And that's Henry Cavill. I think it'd be hilarious, especially since Henry Cavill is very handsome. Mm. He's very prim and proper. He speaks with an English accent. He's a very proper fella. You know what I mean?
Sure.
To see him just kind of fumble and bumble around even more.
I don't think he can pull it off.
I want him to. I know. But that would, if he could pull that type of acting off, that would separate him. that would make him an actor. That would up his career and make a better, more interesting Superman. It would make everything, my opinion, even though it's my idea, I know, that would really up Henry Cavill's game. If he could actually play a character that's not Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not Henry Cavill. Fumbling, you got to play it up because he's very handsome. You got to play these certain elements up. But him constantly having a Kleenex up to his face and sneezing, that could be so many different comedy gags, whether it be, slapstick or not. You know what I mean? It still works for a lot of different audiences.
You know who else we could say that was? The Rock. My goodness, he's the Rock in everything.
The Rock is the Rock in everything.
Yeah,
the Rock is,
really
I know. Now, but there are people that works for.
Yeah.
There are people, I like watching
Nicholson.
The Rock. Yeah, I like watching Nicholson. I like, you know what I mean? It just is what it is.
Nicolas Cage is another one
Cage,
like almost
to his own detriment. Really, that kind of ruined him, to be honest. But
I can't lie. I love Nicolas Cage just because he's Nicolas Cage.
He's this freaking psychopath. He's got to be so wacko. Okay, if he's not a Hollywood freak, he'd be so fun to hang out with. Because I don't know what he's actually like in real life.
I don't know what he's actually like.
If he's not a Hollywood freak, I would love to hang out with him.
Knowing what we know about
insane.
Hollywood, though, he might actually be one of the most normal people.
Yeah.
He might actually just be totally legit.
Who the hell knows? Maybe if he wasn't, he'd still be on the big screen. If he was a regular Hollywood freak, you know what I mean?
He'll be like one of those guys that get like a renaissance, kind of like Keanu Reeves.
He almost did. Nicolas Cage has had a few movies lately where he almost, you can tell that they're trying. I just don't.
I think he'll get there. Like Keanu Reeves, to me, I was watching a trailer for John Wick 4 the other day, and I'm sitting here watching it. I'm like, this guy can't act, but everyone loves him. It's so bizarre.
If Keanu Reeves is what he portrays himself to be off screen, right? A decent, normal human being.
I think he is. I think he genuinely is.
If he's that person, I will pay and watch anything he does.
Right.
Because I don't know. And I like John Wick. Right? You like John Wick. If you can deal with Keanu and you like John Wick, then you it's all the same.
Right.
Keanu's playing Keanu and he just called John.
Yep. And no, I completely.
Are we at an hour and 16 minutes?
We are at an hour and 16 minutes.
God.
So, not to cut this short.
No, we're gonna.
We actually cut it long.
We've got a family.
Yeah. So, thank you as always.
Yeah.
This has been amazing.
This is just going to keep happening.
And, right, because we could literally go all night.
And we have more coming.
Yes.
There's a reason that we're doing all this. This is all leading to something. Me and Matt want to put our book out. We want to put our book out. Everything that we're doing is going to be building towards a Kickstarter campaign for our kaiju book.
And if you like this book, we've got more ideas in the pipeline.
Oh, so many. So many ideas.
Oh, yeah.
This is the third podcast, technically, which once I cut it down might be 6. Who the hell knows? This is crazy long. But this is all, the reason for starting this is because there's so much more. What we really want is to put our book out. We're doing all of this to get enough backing for Kickstarter so that we can make it happen.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys are entertained in the meantime. We definitely want to just share and share something we love with everyone else. And
we just basically figured, let's just put a microphone in front of what we do anyways.
Yeah.
This is just how we talk at birthday parties, wherever we are. This is just what we do.
So if we're not quite as polished or scripted as
it's our third one.
Yeah,
it's our third one. From everything I've seen, everyone says, okay, don't wait till you're ready because you're never ready.
Right.
Just start.
Just start doing it.
Your first videos are going to suck.
Yeah.
That's the way it is for most people. And you get better and better. Yeah. And I think we'll get better and better.
I think so too.
I think we're fine now.
So, well, guys, thank you for listening. And this is us signing off. We'll see you next time.